Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But it comes at a price. Samantha Horwitz and John Salerno work with police departments across the country to bring valuable recovery, insight resources, and workshops. A Badge of Honor TV brings those professionals to you so we can come together and revitalize communities through a better understanding of what's at stake and what's required for repair. So take a load off and turn up your TV. It's about to get real.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam. Man, it's Mental Health Monday once again, and we are starting off to an amazing day, Sam.
We are.
You know, the world is changing a little bit, and hopefully it changes for the better. I think it will. You know, what a wonderful inauguration today. I don't know if you got to catch any of it, but it was done with dignity, respect, and, man, powerful speech by now President Donald Trump.
It was talk about a boost for your mental health and morale. Oh, yeah. It is great. You know, anybody that is in the protective intelligence arena, you know, there were a lot of I'll say curveballs. And I think that they did a wonderful job kind of using smoke and mirrors, like, oh, we're going to have the swearing in over here. No, we're going to do it over here. No, we're going to do it. So nobody knew, basically, unless you were on the detail at the last second, but it was so well done. And, you know, now I say that the hard work begins for everybody that wears a uniform or in plain clothes that's a first responder. Because now it's going to be all about cooperation. So on one hand, there's going to be an adjustment period. And then on the other hand, hopefully we will see all departments that are needing resources, especially we still got the fires going on in California, and it is just being decimated. I'm hearing some really not good stories out of California. So our continued prayers and our hearts go out to all the men and women that are on the front lines out there. Just know that you've got a giant group of prayer warriors every day that wake up and say a prayer for you. So we're thinking about you here on A Badge of Honor TV as well. You know, to do your job well takes training. And our guest tonight, he is trained in so many different aspects, not only with firearms, but tactics as well. So he is actually certified to instruct their first responder community, our law enforcement. But he's got a really powerful and I don't want to say heartbreaking story, but it was out of his heartbreak. Not only with what he went through growing up, but also with his wife, that he has a passion for his community, for kids, and just to be a warrior out there on the street and to create a business that is protecting our kids. We have had
a lot nowadays.
Yes, a lot of school shootings. Kind of was a teaser for the show because, John, you and I have talked off camera a lot. There's just no more excuses. Uvalde showed everybody that we've got to get our proverbial poop together when it comes to school security. And I still don't think we have it right. And so I met our guest, Shane, in the LinkedIn community. We talked, we exchanged emails. He is a tried and true professional because his heart is in the right place. So without further ado, Shane Ammerman with HCCI Protection Services. Welcome to A Badge of Honor TV.
Welcome, Shane.
Hello, Sam. Hello, John. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Oh, this is fantastic. You know, like I said, John and I, we talk about this a lot. I've got a kiddo still in school, And we kind of started this school security thing. And I think a lot of Texas ISDs did. But I don't really think people have a true understanding of what goes into it. And before we get to where you are with HCCI, just tell everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app a little about you, because you're a veteran. You've done a lot of training. You didn't grow up in the best of circumstances, and you kind of have had adversity thrown at you, but you've always come out the other side because of your mindset.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. So my name's Shane Ammerman. I'm the owner and founder of HCCI Professional Protective Services in Denver, Colorado. I founded this company about 5.5 years ago in order to fundamentally change the entire security industry. What we see happening out here in the security industry is 70-80% of security is theatrical. It's there to make people feel safe without a capability of actually keeping people safe. I have a lifelong commitment to keeping people safe. A little bit about my background. From the age 5, I became a protector. I stepped between a gun and my mom. The attacker was actually my father. My mom was the individual poking the bear. She wasn't innocent in the situation, but that doesn't excuse the situation that my father left. And at 8 years old, she left us, and I was the primary defender against a enraged, drunken, highly trained alcoholic father, trained in law enforcement tactics, military tactics, martial arts. And from 8 to 11, I had to go toe-to-toe against that man. At 11 years old, after our house was Molotov cocktailed by a druggie, I had to go live with my mom. And shortly thereafter, the abuse continued with a 240 to 260 pound stepdad. Sexual grooming. My sister had previously been molested by my dad's best friend. Physical abuse, mental, emotional. If I didn't cook, I didn't eat. If I didn't grocery shop, there wasn't food. If I didn't take myself to school, I didn't go to school. At 14, they got caught in that abuse. They abandoned us. We were forced to go back to live with our father. I filed emancipation at 14 years old with an entire plan on how I could support myself and graduate high school and still go into the United States Marine Corps. The judge said, no, you're a stupid kid. Go home. Every kid at your age thinks that they know something. And so I was forced to go back home. And at 16 years old, I walked out. I never looked back. I did a 4-year NJROTC program in high school. I did martial arts from the time I was 8 till still today. My now late wife, we met in high school, went through a cancer bout when we were still in high school. I went into the Marine Corps. I was out of the Marine Corps in less than a year because of an injury and military shrinkage. And in that time, I started preparing myself to continue on the love of protecting and serving. I wanted to start a security firm, and I wanted to keep helping people. In 17, she relapsed, stage 4 terminal. We moved from Wyoming to Denver. About a year later, I began my security training, a lot of Israeli-based training, NRA weapons training, Krav Maga-based training, continued martial arts training, Israeli weapons training, Israeli executive protection background training, tactical driving training, and went to work for another company. I decided that the low quality that they brought to the field, the low pay of the professionals, the turnover that was 400+%, really propelled me into starting my own security firm and creating real capable, highly trained, proficient, dedicated armed security professionals in order to start protecting the public that desperately needed something between law enforcement and the public to help assist.
Man, that is just an amazing story, and God bless you. You're on your path to get through that. And anybody listening, that feels that they're alone or are going through a battle or 2 or 3 battles in the home life, listen to Shane's story. There is a door out. There is a way out. It's perseverance. And Shane proved it right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it also shines through with your naming of your company. So what does HCCI stand for?
To me, HCCI stands for the 4 most. I think we blacked out there for a minute. I apologize. To me, HCCI stands for the 4 most important leadership and character traits I think any human can really exemplify. And that is HCCI, honor, courage, commitment, and integrity. And I believe that if an individual aligns themselves with those 4 principles, and they are core true values of the character of an individual, there's nothing that our company cannot do to succeed.
And that is one of the things when I was reading your bio on LinkedIn and I saw what HCCI, the letters meant, and more about your background, I was like, I gotta connect with Shane. So I'm so glad that we did, because it's not only the professionalism that you say, you want to work for me, this is what it's all about, that you expect from your employees. It's also because that's how you operate. And when you have a leader that demonstrates that, all ships rise and come to your level. Shane, you have an incredible training background. And when we come back from our first break, I want to talk about that Israeli background, because there's a lot of folks in the security field that I know personally that live close to me, and they have gone through some of that as well. So we will be right back after our first break. Everybody stay tuned.
Forget Zoom, try Meetin. Meetin is a brand new video meeting service. And not only is Meetin simpler and easier to use and more powerful, Meetin also has the right values. Here at Meetin, we believe in freedom. We believe in privacy. We believe in America. And we are apolitical. Now, to get your free forever version of Meetin, just go to Meetin.com, spelled this way. And then where it says promo code, type in the word special. That's your promo code. Okay? So go to Meetin.com, type in the word special, and you'll get Meetin free forever. I'm Rick Raditz, and I look forward to serving you as a customer of Meetin.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam and our special guest, Shane Ammerman. Ammerman, right? Am I saying it correct?
Close enough. It's Ammerman.
Ammerman. All right.
Anything but late for supper.
Yeah, I do apologize. I'm very bad with last names. I'm bad with first names too. If you're just joining us, Shane has an intensive background in the security field, but he's come from a very traumatic background, which probably gave you the strength to get where you are today, because it built character in you, it built perseverance and resolve inside you that says, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to let a bad situation hold me down. And your success proves that. You said something in the beginning that really caught my mind, and it's what me and Sam always talk about, is that smoke and mirror security force type of thing. The
security theater.
Huh?
Yes, security theater.
The security theater, yes.
Yes.
And and Sam, you brought it up in the beginning, and I'm going to just call a spade with the cowards in Uvalde. Those officers, they were there. They got a cushy detail, but when it came down to actually saving lives and stepping up and doing what they had to do, they didn't do a thing. That's not where we want our children. That's not where we want our dignitaries. We don't want kabuki theater. We want actual trained security personnel to be able to protect and save lives.
John, that's really not the first time that's happened. If you recall, it happened years previous in Florida, when Florida sheriff stood down and let children, defenseless teenage children, be murdered because they didn't have the gumption to go in and save the lives they swore to protect.
Yeah,
so it's becoming all too common.
Yeah,
Yes.
one of them was prosecuted, if memory serves, for his failure to, I'll call it failure to protect, failure to act. Shane, let's talk a little bit about training, because it's not like you can just say, hey, I want to do a protective services company and poof, it happens.
Right.
Your level of training allows you to go into law enforcement stations and do actual training scenarios and put on training courses. That is how high your level of training exists. Why the Israeli, is it proper to call it like Israeli defense system?
I would say Israeli defensive tactics would be an appropriate word to use. In fact, it's become really popular with many law enforcement jurisdictions, Homeland Security, FBI. A lot of them are starting to switch to Israeli defensive tactics. It's very effective.
And so walk us through, I happen to have been able to train. Actually, I was a teenager traveling in Israel, and we got to do a week with the military. That was my first kind of parlay into shooting an M16. But they don't use that. They use really awesome, cool other weaponry. But what talk us through the tactics, and then also the weapon system and the driving and all of that.
So it's really wasn't my original plan to get into the Israeli system. It was sheerly coincidence and dare I say God's divine intervention. When I first started down this road, I was trying to look at a lot of executive protection schools to go and put a piece of paper to the experience I already have. When somebody asks you your experience when you're 27 years old, most people laugh at you, and you can't tell them that I've been doing this since I was 5. Nobody is going to believe that. And so I got really lucky and blessed to stumble across an organization out here in Colorado, an extension of an organization known as the Krav Maga Association. And they also have a defensive tactics organization off of the Krav Maga Association out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. And they were doing an executive protection course out here in Colorado for a very affordable rate. Some of the schools I was looking at the time were $10,000, $20,000, $25,000. And this one offered a 1-week introduction course that was very affordable and allowed me to get my feet wet and start getting the certificates rolling in order to put myself and my skills to work. And when I went through that course, we did hands-on training. We did a 1-man team, 2-man team, 3-man team, 4-man team, 5-man team, driver, all the positions you need to learn to be an executive protection specialist. I laugh at that a little bit because everyone can earn the title specialist in a couple hours, but it gave you a lot of introduction to begin your career down that road. And as I did that training, the Krav Maga training that came along with that, the Israeli combat weapons training that came along with that, my previous skills really shone to the head instructors, and they offered me a chance to start going through the multiple levels of Israeli combat weapons training, as well as start in Krav Maga and put my skills to work there. When I started Krav Maga, it was amazing. I have taught self-defense privately from young ladies at my age all the way up to women. My grandma was the first house mother in my hometown to take in abused and battered women. So I volunteered with the Women's Center back home as well. And so I've gotten to train with people and train people for my entire life. I'm 33 now. I've done this since I was 8. And Krav Maga was simple. Not simple as in it didn't take any work, but most martial arts have 1,000 techniques for 1,000 situations. And how do you know to remember those when you're stressed, when the fight or flight hits in, when you start resorting down to your gross motor skills, your fine motor skills, and you got to remember. And the thing that really stood out about Krav Maga and Krav Maga defensive tactics in the Israeli combat weapons training is they had 100 techniques for 1,000,000 situations. And most of those techniques fell right back into the same muscle memory. While your initial defense might be slightly different, all the following tactics really were the same. And it helps you really fall back into your training. It falls back into what's muscle memory instead of wait, stop, time out, bad guy. Wait, let's redo this, right? And it doesn't work in the real world. And Krav Maga really had a solution for that. And that's why I continued along with Krav Maga and Krav Maga defensive tactics in the Israeli combat weapons training, not exclusively, but definitely primarily, because it offers realistic, real life training that people can fall back on. If you don't mind, I'll tell a quick example of how effective it is.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I do some private training. We're launching our new training facility here in Denver. But many years ago, back in 2019, 2020, when I first started training people in Krav Maga, had a young woman, 22 years old, no self-confidence, really wonderful young lady, right? Sam, I'm sure you remember being 22 years old as a woman. Your confidence is a little shaky, right? Trying to figure it out. And she was going into law enforcement. She was getting her criminal justice degree. And so she started training with me. Well, this wonderful young woman only got to train with me for about 2 months before she found out her and her partner were pregnant. And then she was away for about another month and a half. And then one day, and I still hold this so close to my heart, almost 5 years later, I get a text message. And this text message said, I never thought in my life I would have the confidence to defend myself and be okay. But because of you today, I did, and I'm okay. Thank you. John, Sam, what form of martial arts can you study for 2 months and at least develop the confidence to protect yourself in an emergency?
Yeah, that not many. You got to get over that stress, that initial stress response. That has all your senses flying. So that is, wow, that's a true testament to Krav Maga. We've got to take another break. Shane, when we come back, John, let's talk about how you took this training and you said school security is where we need to be and how you built that. And some of the most important things, because we talked a lot offline that people are just missing with the understanding of what it takes. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam and Shane, who is a veteran in martial arts. He's an all-around, security expert. Is that okay if I say security expert?
Thank you. That's very kind.
In a protective field. Shane, before we left, we were talking about the Israeli combat and the martial arts. Do you see law enforcement, and I'm not disparaging any law enforcement throughout the country, but do you see improper training? Because you turned around and said the muscle memory and what's really applicable out in the field opposed to what's done in the gym, right? So do you see a lack of real world training within our academies?
I absolutely do. And the reason I can say that is since 2019, I've gotten to train with different law enforcement jurisdictions all around the United States. ICE, Homeland Security, Detroit PD, Tennessee State Troopers, Texas DFS agents, Ontario County Sheriff down in La Junta. I've gotten to train with state troopers, forestry agents, and that's only to name a few. I've gotten to train with these people almost every year since 2019.
And where do you see the lack of the skill set, I guess, would be?
So what I am witnessing and seeing is many of these people haven't had updated defensive tactics training in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. A couple years ago, I had the privilege of training down with Texas DFS agents, and I kept my mouth shut while I was training with these guys, right? And the reason I kept my mouth shut is a couple years ago, so it was right before my wife died. I was 29 years old. 29. And I was already an enhanced defensive tactics instructor, having done this a few times a year, every year, plus training my employees and being an assistant instructor with the head organization when they need extra hands. And I kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to tell this guy that was close to 50 years old and a former Marine like myself that I'm an instructor. I picked him out. I worked with him all week. And one day we're training. And he's kind of being hard on me. He's like, oh, what do you know? I've been doing this for a lifetime, right? It's done like this. I said, sir, it's not, this is how it's done. You're doing a good job. Just keep going. And finally, he called over one of the instructors and he goes, hey, this isn't working on him. I don't know why. Then the instructor goes, Shane's one of our instructors. That actually doesn't really work on him because he doesn't have that pain receptor, but you're actually doing it right. You should just listen to him. And all of a sudden, this guy's tone changed. He's like, what? You're an instructor and you didn't tell me? I said, well, I'm 30 years younger than you. You wouldn't have listened to me. So I just was humble and worked with you.
Exactly.
So that's just one example.
Exactly. It's the humility and you know, Shane, I've seen it myself. You know, if you listen to a lot of podcasts, whether it's defensive tactics or even MMA stuff, they're not doing yesterday's tactics. Okay, I'll say today, right? Everybody is evolving and getting up on their skills, and whether, you know, it's the old excuse, you know, money, we don't have the budget. If you make the time to get out on the range as much as you do, you owe it to your personnel to do those, what we used to call control tactics. And it was definitely eye-opening for me. Secret Service, you don't go hands-on with somebody one-on-one. You always have, you know, two or more, depending on, you know, what your assignment is and where you are. But if you had to go one-on-one, because let's say you're just at an ATM machine off duty, right? You want to have those tactics. So it's really important for people to keep it up, but I don't want to say the latest and greatest, because some of it's a lot of fluff, but the latest and most effective, right? And so when it comes to our schools, we absolutely need the latest and most effective, whether it's firearms. So, you know, we're now in the age of the AR, right? We've got to use the tools that are available to law enforcement, because you don't want to be outgunned by the bad guys. All right. So we got to match force on force. It's also physical security protection. And you've got to understand that beast, because Shane, again, as you and I talked, just physically securing a school is a huge undertaking. Let's talk about that, because what you guys offer, nobody should be saying no to. But what's the reality of keeping our schools safe?
Listen, the reality is bad guys seek easy targets, right? You don't see law enforcement getting shot up. You don't see military bases typically getting shot up. You don't see places with armed protection getting shot up. What you see is vulnerable locations. What you see is soft targets. What you see is unprotected buildings that have a lacking or non-enforced security protocols and procedures that are being attacked. I'll use one quick example. The Performing Arts Center High School in St. Louis back in October of 2022. We have an article about it on our website. It shouldn't have happened. Sam, John, how often can you get a school to have one off-duty or SRO or security person? This school had seven security personnel were dedicated to this school. They saw the active shooter before they ever got into the school. They saw the slung rifle before a bullet was ever fired, before locks were shot out, before glass was broken, and before anyone died. Yet all seven security professionals were unarmed and incapable of stopping that threat. The threat knew it. They went after the school because they knew nobody could stop them. Why are we in a day and age in 2025 where we protect all of our most important assets, places, and people with weapons? Why is it we're more angry about the United Health CEO being shot than we are about our innocent children, our future, being killed in our schools? It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, what if, you know, you can look at the smaller private schools, obviously, you know, smaller private schools, smaller building. If you've got, I think, oh my gosh, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got an Allen, Texas campus that has something like 6,000 people, 6,000 kids, and that doesn't include staff. So, you know, is it truly comparing apples to apples, or is it just like, okay, here is a school of 200 kids, here's a school system of 6,000 kids, obviously manpower, person power, weapons power, but physical security, cameras, locking door system. How do you cover it all?
It's really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
I was just gonna elaborate on that too, Sam. You know, when we talk about that school security stuff, We got to talk about also the mindset of the officer. He's got to want to be there. He's got to want to protect those kids, right? So on a campus of 6,000, if you have 5 or even 10 well-trained, proactive law enforcement or even security personnel, you can protect that campus if they're positioned correctly. They're not shocking doors open to go have a smoke. They're not taking breaks and playing games on their phones. If they're actually doing their job, they can protect that campus.
Absolutely.
Preemptive strike. You view somebody coming onto that campus that looks for approach, identify, and question, and then you know what, they shouldn't make it within 10 feet of the door. They should be
SROs are inside the schools, so
and
that's the problem.
Well, I've been through 6 different Homeland Security counterterrorism training courses. And one of the things I really talk about in these things is the most overlooked risk is always the insider. So most of the time, it's going to be somebody that's already associated with the environment, a teacher's spouse, a parent, DV between 2 parents separating, or a kid that's been bullied. And let's be honest, most of our schools don't enforce protection of bullied children. And that's where some of these instances come from.
Exactly. So we're talking about inside. So maybe are we as parents, let's just take our protective specialties and our backgrounds away. As parents, are we looking at school security incorrectly? Are we coming from the outside in versus really getting inside the school, or at least talking to the principal or vice principal or even the police department to say, hey, I'm concerned about my kid's safety and the safety of every child in there. How do we work with you in the community to make sure our school is safe?
So I see that working in private schools, but what I see happening in public schools is a load of grandstanding from school boards, school districts, even police chiefs and police individuals, believe it or not, because they think they can do it all alone, and they can't. Take a city like Denver that's understaffed by about 200 officers. You can't do it. 3 years ago, the mayor lied and said he put cops back in every school in the Denver city. And guess what? Most of their SROs are unarmed, and there's only a patrol guy bouncing between all of them that's got a gun. He didn't fix the problem.
Wait, you said the SROs are unarmed?
A lot of them in the Denver metro.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're going to leave that as a cliffhanger, because we need to come back and understand how an SRO is unarmed. We'll be right back, everybody, with Shane Ammerman. He is the owner and CEO of HCCI Protection. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Leftovers again? It's time for something we haven't had in a long time. It's time for something right. It's time to make the right choice. OBBM Network TV is always the right choice. Choose right.
Hey, welcome back to Badge of Honor TV. Ooh, I almost said podcast again. Badge of Honor TV, powered by the OBBM Network. Man, John and Sam with our guest, Shane, who, like I said, is a security expert in his field and looking to protect our children. When we just broke for commercial, we were talking about the problems we have within our schools. And I'm going to go there is now January 20th, we got a whole new regime going on is going to take away a lot of these DEI programs, and he's going to combat. Our president's going to give our law enforcement the tools needed to take back our school system. When you brought up the school boards, we've seen parents being arrested through the last administration for speaking their mind on child safety, or even for speaking their mind about anything that happens in a school. A parent has no voice. I think that changes. I think that changed today with a new change of leadership, and I think we'll see hopefully a better outlook when we get to our school boards and the safety of our children.
John, it's only going to change under one circumstance, and only one circumstance, and that's if every parent stops believing it'll never happen there. I want to tell you something. Every parent that buried a child, every school teacher that's seen a cold, lifeless, bloody child's body. And I'm being graphic for a reason, because this is real, right?
Real life.
All of them thought it would not happen. And how many times has it happened? Hundreds of children's lives have been affected. Thousands of lives connected to those hundreds have been affected. And yet today, there is a parent, there's a school board, there's a school district, there's a mayor that believe it'll never happen. It's happening.
Yeah. And it's happening, as we saw, at least under this last administration, it happened a lot.
It did.
I would like to, before we jump into the being unharmed business, because that was just blew me away. I would like to say that it is my opinion that most of these could have been prevented. And I only say that because the Secret Service they put out a memo in school security. They examine all of these shootings. And this memo, this official document, is free for any school board, any parent, any teacher, anybody that wants access to it. And they talk about the red flags. There are always red flags when it comes to these school shooters, the individuals themselves, and whether the school ignored them, whether parents ignored them at home or didn't lock up their firearms, or bought guns for their kids, God forbid, but it happened. It was there for everybody to see before it happened. So I'll just say that it's my opinion that most of these could have been prevented. With that being said, we in Texas, maybe we're lucky in that SROs, they're sworn police officers, they're in the schools with their firearms and access to those extra weapons should they need. They are, as we know from one of our partners who was injured in a fight, willing to put their safety on the line. Most of them, not all of them, as we've seen from Uvalde and the other ones. So how do you protect the school in 2025 without being armed?
I don't think you can. And I would argue that by engaging in that feel-good theatrical notion, you're grossly negligent and directly liable for the lives that you're willing to put at risk, because you won't address the reality that the bad guys don't care about the laws. They're going to commit the crimes. And if we can't and do not have the ability to engage with them with the proper and necessary force to stop them and prevent them, they're escalating. We see it happening all around the United States. The criminals are not being held liable, but the good guys are.
Right. I think that's one of the problems as well. Exactly. Is the not only lack of training, but it almost instills, depending on what city you're in, the fear of actually acting as you are trained. And it's like, hello, you've been trained this way for a reason. Like, go, address, threat. There's shots fired. Do your job. So how whether it's a private school or a public school, how do you use school systems to help them get up to speed and get these campuses protected?
No, I've had better luck in the private schools than in the public schools, although my first school was a charter school. And we were very active in that, and we were very successful until they went down a theatrical road. The private schools, the parents have a little more care and direct say because they're spending the money. But you educate them. You come in and you try to separate the fear and introduce the reality, right? Yes, you're fearful. Okay, you're scared that I might have a gun, but do you realize your fear of me having a gun isn't going to stop the bad guy with a gun? Right. And I mean, I've heard comments from parents and school boards. Let's just put a fake car out there with a cardboard cutout. Okay. Make sure you stand behind the cardboard cutout when that shooter comes, because it'll help you.
Wow.
Right. The reality is, if we're going to stop a threat or prevent it, the goal is to prevent. Right. You have to be properly armed. You have to be adequately equipped. You have to be uniformed. You have to be seen. You have to build trust with the parents, the community, the faculty, the teachers. If they don't trust you, you're not going to learn about something before it happens, right? We're talking about there's red flags. You can spot these red flags if you have trust in the community of those people that you serve.
You know,
Sure.
Shane, when you walk into a school, even to just talk to a principal or some of the teachers, when you walk through those doors, do you immediately see the flaws in the?
You don't walk through the doors.
Well, you look, let's be honest. Schools won't have this conversation. I can't tell you how many times for the last 3 years I've been offering free assessments to schools. I should be charging $3,000 to $12,000 per assessment. Okay, depending on the size and scope. All right. And I've offered them free, and I can't even count how many times a school principal or a school director has told me, we don't want these flaws documented. So when something happens, we're not more liable for gross negligence for not doing something when we knew there's a problem. Getting through the door, I can get through the door of almost any school, Aurora, Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, Lone Tree, because these schools are complacent. They trade their comfort for safety. They prop open the door for a cigarette. Nowadays, probably not, but they're hot. The lunchroom is hot. The school classroom's hot. They prop open a door, you walk through. I had a situation happen out of school that I used to protect and used to be my kid's school. And this school liked to pop their collar and say, we got some former special operations individuals running our school security, and one of them works here, and we're just great, and we know what we're doing, and we have concealed carry teachers. We don't need you anymore. The problem is even though one of those special operators' wives was working in that school, they'd buzz anyone into the school, regardless if they knew them or not. And one day I'm sitting there, I'm getting my kids early. The cool little bell goes ding dong. You know, those are two-way intercoms. You can see and talk. And this person just lets them on in. Come to find out they were making a delivery. It was very innocent. But the school policy is we don't accept deliveries during school hours. You need to leave our school. Why didn't they know that outside the door?
Right, with the camera that they could see.
With the camera. Yeah. And this is a school that prided itself and popped its collar, that they had special operations people that knew what they were doing, that were keeping our kids safe, and they didn't know what they were doing. They popped their collar saying they're a former special operations, but they didn't have the updated, necessary, adequate training to really put the common practices into use. They were living off their ego and not off of protection.
Well, and you practice like you play, right? So if you just get the certifications and you get, you know, this piece of paper and that piece of paper, and my background, but you never practice, or when that day may come, you're going to be behind the 8 ball because it's not a stress-inducing thing that you're used to.
Correct.
So that's another big thing.
And accountability.
I will say I remember the day that the email went out to parents, at least in the ISD that my son that we're in, saying, you know, we're now making sure that all doors are locked, and it's like, wait, what? what
now?
They weren't locked before?
That's been common practice for 10 to 15 years, and I can go through the metro and find most schools that aren't.
Yeah, but see, accountability, that person who buzzed that person in through the door, right? What was it? Don't do that again. Don't do that. Right?
Probably.
Fire them, and the next person who takes that job will know, holy crap, I'm not buzzing anybody in because I'm going to lose my job.
But you want to know why they don't get fired? They don't get fired because it's a popularity thing. It's not a real, they don't really care about the security. They care about the persona, the make people feel good, the fakeness to it without doing it.
A lot of them have the teachers union and stuff like that, depending on what state you're in. But what are your thoughts, Shane, again, with teachers, because in Texas, a teacher can go through a training program and have a license that allows them, they're basically a school marshal. They don't give out a lot of them for schools, but they're allowed to have a firearm. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I've worked in a school that did that, and they trained with us, and we took them out and qualified with them, ran them through our training just to ensure their safety, right? I think that if the choice is absolutely nothing, or a volunteer teacher that has been background checked, that has the mental competency, that can legally own and obtain a firearm, that can pass physical rigorous training protocols, not just your basic NRA concealed weapons course, because the NRA concealed weapon courses aren't that great. Sorry, but they're not. Something more rigorous, stress-induced, reality-based, I think it's better than nothing. We did a training with a private school, and we about made the principal puke when we explained the reality of the means of what it meant for him to carry that firearm and the choice he might have to make. He didn't have the gumption. I said, you better stop carrying. You can't do this. If the talk makes you sick, you're a danger.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
What happens in real life. Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that if it follows very strict protocols and procedures in a rigorous training course and a yearly requalification, I think that it's better than nothing. I'd rather somebody that can respond in seconds than waiting minutes. Because let's be honest, the statistics aren't with us. The average FBI response time is 3 minutes, right? Many of them going well beyond that. The average time based on FBI and statistics from the time the emergency happens to the time 911 called is 5 minutes. So now you're at 8 minutes. I mean, thank God most of these people aren't trained. Because if someone like the three of us were to go into school with a foul intent, we're highly trained, it would be horrible. And it's still horrible. So you're looking at least 8 minutes. And then the painstaking search.
Right.
And seize or neutralize that has to go on. 8 minutes is an eternity. And many of these go on for 14, 15, 20 minutes before it's stopped.
Yeah, I challenge people all the time. It's like, turn on the stopwatch, or I will, and we'll go through this and you'll see. We got to take a quick break. We will be right back after these messages.
Rise and vibe with your new elevated morning ritual. Meet Rise by Frequency. Frequency charged nutrition. Rise is formulated with a blend of 7 different organic mushrooms, B vitamins, amino acids, and green coffee bean extract. Rise supports brain health, performance, and focus while enhancing mood, mental clarity, and energy. Enjoy the delicious mango lemonade flavor while giving your mind the nutrients it needs. Get charged up with Rise. Fuel your body and mind today.
All right, you hear us talk about it every week. Rise and Vibe with me and John. This stuff is fantastic. It does get you charged up. It tastes delicious. It's no sugar. It's keto friendly. Get all the energy that you need to power through your day, as well as the mental clarity, because let's face it, as we get older, it happens. So get yourself rising and vibing by visiting abadgeofhonorhealth.com. We have put together special packages for you. Subscribe and save today. That's abadgeofhonorhealth.com. Now back to the show. So Shane, before we go here, I want people to know how they can reach out to you directly.
Absolutely. There's a number of great ways to do that. My personal and direct line, you can call me anytime. I'll answer 24/7, 720-476-0312. My direct email address is shane@hccIprotection.com. Those are the 2 best ways. You can also go to my website, which is www.hccisecurity.com.
Okay, so I put that up, the hccisecurity.com. Again, hccisecurity.com. All of Shane's contact information is on there. So, if you're a parent or you're on the school board, or you just want you want to protect your school, you have an interest in making sure that the kiddos are safe, reach out to Shane, because if you're just joining us, he kind of really knows what he's doing. And you're the fact that you're in the departments as well and training with the police, you're also building that connection to where if something, God forbid, does happen, it's like, hey, we train this way, we thwarted the threat, everything's good. And, it's important to have that. Is it not?
It absolutely is. And that training that continues. It's just not a one and done, right? My team trains. We just launched our first training facility. My team has 24/7 access. They train every Saturday, volunteer. They show up. They get some extra training. We do multiple weapons trainings a year and also additional trainings. We're working with an organization, former Secret Service as well, Mike Matringa, in order to get behavioral threat assessment training to my team. Sam, you know what that is and how valuable it is in the schools. It isn't just just about the armed security, right? It's about the additional resources we need to prevent the threat. Behavioral threat assessment, emergency medical trainings, stop the bleed training, ways that we can stop it from ever becoming the reality to begin with. And by training your team constantly and regularly, you keep them ready and capable to prevent, and in the unfortunate situation that it becomes a reality, stop.
And let's understand again that it is a cooperative effort. But there's got to be that buy-in from the principal and all the admin staff, because they've got to be part of that. Hey, we have this young person who made threats or is being bullied. They got to pay attention. They got to stop sweeping, especially this bullying thing under the rug. They have to take this seriously, because we've seen it in every instance. The person was bullied. The person was called out. Online bullying, all that. And that could be a whole separate show. But
Sam, I was bullied. I was bullied for years. And finally, when I protected myself after people that worked at the school knowing what I was capable of in just 6th grade, after putting the flag up for 3 years straight, helping the custodians pick up the trash, telling the school nonstop I was being bullied, finally I had to protect myself in 6th grade. And guess who got in trouble after nonstop documentation? I did.
You.
A couple years, maybe 10 years ago now, I used to mentor a kid with Asperger's. He was being bullied up in Wyoming while I lived in the Campbell County School District, and they were ignoring that this kid with Asperger's was being bullied. They ignored it constantly. Finally, this kid took a knife to school one day, not to actually use it, but to scare the kids that were picking on him, right? Expelled instantly, but not the bullies. Yeah. So it's got to stop. We got to protect the innocent people. We got to start holding the criminals or the bad guys responsible, right? There needs to be real consequences. Consequences deter bad behavior. Absolutely. It starts when you're a kid.
Absolutely. Right. Well, Shane, this has been an incredible learning experience for me and John, and I know everybody listening. Hey, again, Shane's contact information, hccisecurity.com. Especially for those listening on your favorite podcast app, contact him if, everybody should be reaching out to you if they work in the school system, Shane. If not,
we're here to help.
Some questions. Your willingness to help, say again?
Sam, one of the unique things we're launching here in a couple of weeks, I'm going to make public knowledge. We've created a funding solution to help schools, and it takes it completely out of the school district's hands. It puts it right in your parents' hands. And honestly, it's about $55, depending on the size of the school, as low as $55 a month per family. Sam, John, you probably spend more at a coffee shop every month than $55. We can do this together. We can protect our children, and we can stop our children from being easily targeted. We just got to join together and do it.
Yeah. Let's stop making our kids easy targets. Absolutely, Amen. Shane. And $55 is not a lot to ask. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, folks, reach out to Shane. We will be in touch, certainly, and we wish you all the best. Thank you for stepping up, for raising your hand and say, I will protect your kid, because the schools cannot. So, again, thank you,
Sam and John.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Shane.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.
This was super eye-opening. There's still a long way to go, but Shane is on the right track. He's doing the right things. They're constantly training. You got to keep up with it. But if you guys are listening, again, you're a parent, Shane's an asset to you. He just sat here for almost an hour saying, contact me. Please, if you have any questions about the security of your school, about how to even talk to your kid, and the things that you can do, reach out to Shane directly. His website will be in the show notes. So make that happen. Hey, I want to thank everybody. John and I want to thank you for tuning in once again. As you can see, we are back on all platforms. And I think with this new administration, we're not going to have to worry about saying the wrong things. That got us a couple of shows booted off other platforms. But we pivoted because of that. So thank you, Rumble family, for being there. Thank you to OBBM Network TV. If you are not subscribed to OBBM Network TV, get subscribed. They bring you phenomenal programs. And guess what? It's an app. Everybody can put an app on their TV. So you can watch us on the big screen. It's like, hey, Mom, on TV. Yeah, really cool. But we want to
sit on the couch and watch us.
Exactly. We want to thank everybody for tuning in each week. Hey, if you want to help first responders directly fight or stay in the fight as it comes to stress and beating back the constant barrage of what they do and the stress that they're under with their job, think about just making a donation. If you go to our website, abadgeofhonor.org, there's a little blue donate button. $36 puts a first responder through one of our workshops. We greatly appreciate all the donations rounding out 2025. And with that, we would be remiss if we did not mention that we, again, have been chosen to be nonprofit partners with Carry the Load. Carry the Load, we're going to feature them in May as we do each year. They are phenomenal people. And so you can visit our website, click on Carry the Load's logo, find out how you can help first responders directly by helping carry the load. So this Friday, we've got a wellness and resiliency workshop. There are still spaces available. You can go to our website, click on the events tab, or better yet, wait till the pop-up and just hit register. Because of Carry the Load and our partnership, they gave us a very generous donation, which is how we are able to bring this workshop to everybody at no cost. So you want to get in on that. And then in March, we've got a very special training for our peer support folks out there in the department. So you don't want to miss that either. That is also free. It is 4 hours. And along with protection, you heard the Carry in Texas is my business. I'm in the range once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week, doing all kinds of firearms training from beginner to everyday carry, draw from holster, all that fun stuff. I've got an upcoming in-person Texas license to carry course. So you can reach out to me through the website. It is in the local Plano area. So if you're in the greater DFW area, you can get information on that if you want an in-person license to carry class. Otherwise, you can hit me up through that website, carryintexas.com, and sign up 24/7, 365 for the online course, and we can talk. So to all of our protectors, our warriors out there, thank you for what you do. Thank you, all first responders. We pray for your safety every day, and just know that we want you to come home every single day to your family. So thank you for keeping our community safe. To all of our veterans out there, thank you for fighting the good fight that allows John and I to do a show like this every single week. And for our active duty personnel, make no mistake, folks, they are still deploying. It doesn't matter that we have a change in leadership right now in this country. They're still overseas fighting our enemies. So to everybody who is deployed, to all their families who serve right alongside with them, thank you for keeping us safe here on our borders, our shores. God bless you all. John, take us home.
Well, you said it all, Sam. Just God bless our first responders, our law enforcement out there. You know what? The gloves are off. The handcuffs are off. You're now going to be allowed to do your job the way you were trained, the way you had a passion for, and what you signed up for. Stay safe, and just make America proud.
Amen. With that, see you next week, everybody. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.